Welcome to the Voiceover Now Podcast. I'm your host, Steve Foster III, CEO and President of Wake Up Global Network. Say, you know what you got to do. You know what I say at the beginning of every show. It's going to be good. You like it straight, no chaser. You are at the right place. But first, I need you to like, subscribe, share, follow, like, subscribe, share, follow, like, subscribe, share, hit that notification bell. I want you to become subscribed to the channel so you know when we drop new content. We have a plethora of content right here on Wake Up Global TV. It is the voice of hope connection every Sunday, greeting you as you wake up, giving you positive vibes for a positive week with our host B. You don't want to miss that. And then there is Thursday night, Life Alive Bible Study. For those of you who want spiritual talk, every Thursday night at 7 p.m., Life Alive Bible Study, where the word comes alive and breathes new life. And then there is this here right here, this here, the Voiceover Now Podcast with me, your host, Steve Foster III, and every now and then some guests. But sometimes I'll be rolling solo, but we did have guests on Women's Empowerment Month, and we're going to have some more guests coming up. But there's a couple of hot issues that I want to touch, like Jaden Ivey probably finish it up today because there's some other hot button issues like Ashley Simpson, the influencer that lost her life over in Zanzibar. I got a lot of thoughts about that. D4VD, the singer who was finally arrested, that's a weird case. The chaos at the White House, that was dinner. That's a weird case. Whole lot of weird stuff happened. But right now we're talking about Jaden. Before we get started, I want to say thank you so much. Come on, like. I want to say thank you for those of you who are viewing. Thank you for those of you who share this. Share the link. Again, if you love conscious content, if you love educational entertainment information, you are at the right place. I want to say thank you for all of our viewers. Thank you for all of our subscribers. Thank you for those of you that watch. Even if you watch the replay, we want to say thank you. Yeah, see, we had 6 brand new drafts. So I'm so proud of the Commanders. I don't think we'll take it this year. I think it'll be a year of growth. If everybody stays healthy, I think next year we'll probably go back to the playoffs. I think, unless I'm always open to be surprised, but I think this year may be just a year of growth. If you watch, I just got to emphasize, you've been to Thursday night. Have you been to Thursday night and watch? We're talking about great leaps, great opportunities, often great leaps of faith, but it's more than a Bible study. It's prophetic declaration. It's prophetic insight. And I encourage you right here, everything on Wake Up Global TV. Wake Up Global TV. Then I have my Patreon, the lit Patreon, where we deal with stuff we can't say on regular social media because it's so highly sensitive, and the algorithms will suppress our videos if we say a lot. So go with us to our Patreon. Go to Patreon if you want to some deep dives into some deep things. All right, but right now, I want to say thank you so much. In all seriousness, I hope you're having a great week. I hope you're having a great life, and I hope you are pursuing destiny over comfort. Ding, ding. That's a part of what we study Thursday night. Shout out to each and every one of you. I appreciate you so much. Yeah, we're here to have fun. We're here to learn, and we're here to have serious discussions because this issue with Jaden Ivey, and I'm not going to go back, look at parts 1 and 2, but as I have been saying, Jaden Ivey is 24. He was recently waived, if you don't know the whole story, by the Chicago Bulls because and I'm going to read an article because every show with him, I've been reading an article to make a point. He was recently waived for criticizing the NBA's association with Pride Month, supporting the LGBTQ plus community, and just very vocal about his feelings. Now, my position probably has been much different from many people that sit in my chair, in my circumstances. As a Christ follower, my position has been that I think he did it to himself. And I go over those reasons in part 1 or 2. But let me say this in this series, Jaden Ivey, opportunity or opposition, the NBA. Let me say this. Let's break it down. I want you to like this, share this. These are my thoughts, my opinions, because it's my show. Now, I know the average Christian is seeing this, and even the article that I'm going to read out of the Echo today as him being bold enough to express his faith. Let me say from the outgo, I believe in free speech. I think the Constitution gives free speech. But let me say this from the Bible that Jaden Ivey believes in and has been pushing and has been emphasizing throughout his locker room to reporters that Jaden, that winneth souls are wise. That's all I got to say about that. I've talked about that zeal without knowledge. Now, as I said on every show, this is bigger than Jaden. This issue pushes three main areas, in my opinion, to the forefront that, especially as an African American community, and especially the Black church, we don't want to deal with. I think it's mental health involved. I think it's religiosity connected to guilt involved. I think it's mental health, which I'm going to talk about today, that's involved. And finally, I think it's sexuality that's involved. I think Jaden Ivey's story has gone viral as the prototype of the kind of discussions that we need to have in the Black community, especially around mental health, sexuality, and I don't mean just having sex, and I'll get to that. Religion, which religion, doing, being good enough is connected with guilt. And I see that guilt. And then the issue of understanding the time and the place at least this. I have taken a very different perspective. I said last week that I felt and feel that this is a very unfortunate situation. And I wish it would not have happened. It reminds me of the Kyrie Irving situation several years ago when the NBA has been so, you can't say that the NBA has not allowed persons to express what they believe. I remember during COVID, I'm on YouTube, so I don't want them to suppress my video, but during the C-19, I remember that the NBA, when we had the breakout in Minnesota and the riots and the protests, that they did wear, and I think mandated, the Black Lives Matter shirt. So I don't buy the fact that the NBA has suppressed agreeing with what's going on in culture. I think probably out of the NFL and the National Baseball, NBA has been one of the most vocal and supportive of what's going on, maybe sometimes overly, in culture. I'm hearing a lot of, especially, and I don't do this political thing, but I know I learned to meet people where they are. This, real conservative Christianity talk, Baylor University, Taylor, those kind of conservative liberty, that Jaden Ivey was fired. They are proud of Jaden Ivey. Now, a man who made $10 million, I believe it was over 4 years, 10 mil, married, family, children, number 5 pick for the book, come up 24 years young, just starting out. To blow such an opportunity, my opinion. And now the thing that gave him the most opportunity, he has become in opposition to. I do not, and I vehemently disagree with these conservative university newspapers, articles, that it was his faith that caused him to lose these opportunities. From what I know, and this is my opinion, and what I have observed, his overly, and I'm not trying to tear anybody. I told you I wish it would not have happened. But I cannot sit back and allow the spirit of religion and self-righteousness, because that's a part of what I hear in him. Religion and self, and I'm going to talk about something like this. Get in here. Get in here. Get in here. This religiosity tied to guilt, that's what caused him to lose his job. A mental health issue. I mean, not judging, but what I haven't heard, and again, I haven't heard all the comments, all the commentators, all the content creators. So what I haven't heard, I'm not saying what hasn't been said, been diving into this because I wanted to bring accuracy. I wanted to bring information correctly. I haven't heard a lot of people say we're helping him or encouraging him. Maybe they are. I'm sure they are somewhere. Because obviously he needs help. You don't go on tirades on social media platforms. So why aren't these liberal universities that have mental health therapists, mental health clinics reaching out and say, hey, Jaden, let's pull it in. Let's talk. Let's deal with what might have taken place in your background. And we all have had things to happen to us that we need either professional, spiritual, counseling, help, advice, whatever you want to call it, to help us to walk through those, to process those. That is a natural course of life because we all face different traumatic events. And when you want to grow, when you want to work it out, then you seek the help, but you don't over religionize your life to make everybody else wrong and you're right. Because this is what Jesus rebuked in the Pharisees in Scripture. And what's not going to, y'all forgive me for my passion on this, but I vehemently detest religion. And I think he is a product of a religious system. And what you say, why defaults to three? Because religion will always talk about right and wrong. What's right? What's wrong? Sin, righteousness. And his whole claim is, I'm going to read something, you promote unrighteousness. You promote sin. Okay. In NBA. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. There it is. And I think it's because we have not had a conversation enough to discuss the underlying factors. Because one thing that I have learned being a part and have come out of a religious system, that religion is always the greatest cover up, things that we really don't want to deal with. So we turn religious. And those things we don't want to deal with, we call sin. I said it. Because the real definition of sin is hamartia, missing the mark, missing the divinity, missing the mark of divinity, going away from your divine source instead of going towards, growing to. That's a whole nother subject. Like this, share this. What I plainly see, is my opinion, is religion is a cloak to cover up something that I knew part one, but none of the commentators that I heard were calling it out. I said, there's been some abuse there. Yes, some sexual abuse there, obviously. And then last week, I heard him say well, maybe not last week, after the waiver, I heard it said that you don't know how many times, catch this, mental health, I tried to kill myself, but God gave me mercy. Thank God, God gave mercy. And I want to ask all of these conservative universities, everybody who's coming to his defense because he was waived, but speaking of, have you helped him, and hopefully you have, deal with those issues? 24 years young. It wasn't financial. He's making $10 million. It wasn't relational. He was married with a child. It wasn't occupational. Those are usually the three things. Unless there's a mental health issue in the natural, the one to make people get, they ain't got nobody to love them. They ain't got no money. You understand what I'm saying? Come on, come on, y'all, make it make sense. Make it make sense. So now you're on, and again, I don't want to feel like I'm tearing this brother. I'm not tearing this brother down. I'm tearing down the system that's trying to make something is what it really ain't. I'm attacking the religious system that's attacking the NBA and attacking people like me, saying that they are upset because he spoke out. And I dealt with that in part 1 or 2. Run the underseas is what it seems. That's your boss. The NBA is your boss. You spoke against your boss. I put it down to the nitty gritty. Now, that's it. And this article I'm about to read, them that are persecuted for right. I don't think he was persecuted. I think he was fired. There's the difference. Fired for not doing your job. Fired for insubordination. But bigger than that, that's what I want to talk about. There's an issue. It's kind of like I said with the D4VD case. And I'm not going into that today. That was just arrested for killing allegedly Celeste Rivas, 13-year-old, and cases blowing up in LA right now. There's some mental health issues there. And as long as we are not willing to deal with the mental health issues, using religion and guilt to sweep mental health, see it more times than enough under the rug, this will continue to happen, and unfortunately at the expense of the victim's life. And I think Jason is a victim, not to the NBA, but to the religious system. Oh, yes, I do. Because, as I told you in part 1, I followed, once this story broke, I went back and did some investigation. It seems to me, and I mentioned this in part 1, that he was okay until he gave his life to Christ. Now, yes, absolutely. But under what conditions? Because to me, and I'm talking to the larger, who we all used to be. I used to certainly be the next. Because it's the monster that the system creates. That's really what I'm dealing with. He just happens to be the victim of it. And it happens to be viral. But it's the monster that the system creates. That if I do right, God loves me. And if I do right, God will punish me. If I do right, I'm going to heaven. If I do wrong, I'm going to hell. So it's a system of do's and do's. Never. So it is. I'm saved, but I ain't safe. Because at any moment, did y'all get that? Like, I'm saved in this system, but you ain't safe. Because at any moment, your humanity can kick in, and you do wrong bad, sin. And now for that particular time, you're out of a loving God's according to the graces. So I wear the badge of guilt. Come on. I told you if you like it straight, no chaser, you at the right place. If you like BS, you got to go somewhere else. Because this dude is a product of a, a system full of fallacies and self-righteousness because it bleeds in. You got your check from these people. You have LGBTQ players on the team, in the league, women's league. Your mama coaches, I believe, at Notre Dame. I'm sure there's LGBTQ players there. So just put aside for now your feelings on that. How did that affect those who are LGBTQ plus? Are they people? And do you care about them or what you feel about who they love? And if you feel that, why? Come on. What? I told y'all I'm gonna get deep in. Out of all, and see, I've been around the system. One thing I know, there's a whole bunch of stuff I don't know, but one thing I know is this religious system. I was born, bred, stamped, sealed, signed, delivered. I know that system. I know how that system. I thank God I've been delivered, but I know that system. I know when people are trying to project guilt away from them as a projection and a deflection. I know it. You can't fool me when it comes to that. What about that area bugs you? Hmm? What about LGBTQ community? I'm not focusing on LGBT because that's his biggest issue. With all this going on, now I could see if he mentioned LGBTQ plus community, or if he mentioned uh, the gam. I mean, there's so many issues. I can see if he wrote out a plethora of issues. And the NBA is guilty of supporting Black communities. I think they're political. They are pro-Black. What about the white? But what about that issue that drags you? And I know what he would say if I were talking to him: unrighteousness. Well, rape, and I mean, he lists his lives a list of unrighteousness, and most of them have to do with sexuality. Bible says in Proverbs, he that sows discords among the brethren, God hates. That's not sowing, but anyway, I don't want to look like I'm going for the juggler here, but I am going for the juggler of creates individuals to their demise. Don't blame directly for what's going on. I think he was a victim. I think his heart was right when he gave his life to Christ. But, and I keep saying this, in order to cover up his guilt in the past and things that probably were done to him, willingly or unwillingly, I don't know. But I know certain signs. When you've been in this kind of work, you know certain signs. When you have worked through growth and development and leaving trauma behind, you know certain signs. Let me read this before I close. Like this, share this. This will probably be unless there's a major development, I'm going to let this rest. I got another series I want to start. I want to say thank you. So I'm reading from the Echo. And I told you, Taylor University in Indiana. I think he's from Indiana, I believe. But I wanted to read some interesting information. Like this, share this. Thank you so much for being a part of the channel. I'm not going to read the whole thing. Let me pick up here in the middle. It's Echo if you want to go back and read it. The NBA has shown no signs of letting up on their agenda, making it more difficult for Christians, athletes to choose how they spread the gospel. They didn't say the NBA has shown no signs of letting up on their agenda, making it more difficult for Christians to spread the gospel. That would have been one thing. But they instead said the NBA has shown no signs of letting up on their agenda, making it more difficult for Christian athletes to choose, wait a minute, how they spread the gospel. You're darn tootin'. Now, if they would have said they're not permitted to spread the gospel or share their faith, that's one thing. That's not what they said. They were like, hey, choose. When you go on any job, most of the time, your company has outlined how they want things done, and you agree to do them that way. See, and I keep emphasizing, keep apples with apples and oranges with orange and pears with pears, etc., etc. This was his job. It was not his church. And I understand the 7 mountains of cultural influence. I teach it. I believe it. I know it can happen. But you got to have a seat at the table to change the culture. And enforcing your belief. Okay, so Jaden should choose how he spreads, according to this article, his message. And what if you have a Hindu on the team? Then you got to give them the way that they choose. So they should, at every break, encourage Hindu. Then you have a Buddha. They shouldn't. Do y'all see what I'm saying? This is a job. This is a company, multi-billion-dollar corporation. They have a team chaplain, as I said every week. Share your faith, but you can't push your values. That's not what Jesus did. Watch Jesus, watch Jesus, watch Jesus. Watch the Bible. I am not willing that any should perish, but that all should come to repentance. But that's up to them. I'm not willing, but I'm not going to make them come to repentance. With love and kindness, not condemnation, not guilt, not fear. He has drawn us. New mercies. I could go on and on. I don't want to start a Bible study here. That's on Thursday night. New mercies I see every morning. Unless I'm trying to deflect. So watch this. While Ivy followed through on his professing his faith, I don't think he was professing his faith. He was trying to force his faith on others. There's a difference. See, we get hung up in all these doggone legalities, semantics. That's in my faith is if I say, I am a Christian, I am a Christ follower. My name is Darnell and I love Jesus. I am committed to that. I believe in his death. But, but if I say, like he asked some reporters, you ever committed fornication? You know that's unrighteousness, though. They profess in my faith. So I'm not playing the legalities game with religious. While Ivy followed through on professing his faith, there may have been more tactful. Now I agree. He that winneth souls is wise. Tactful options that he could have used instead of calling out his employee. Bingo, bingo, ding, 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 ding. Let me say that again. Ding, 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 ding. That's all I've been trying to say. Ding, 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 ding. While Ivy followed through on professing his faith, there may have been more tactful options that he could have used instead of calling out his employee. Ding, ding, ding. I wish I had. I'm going to get me a horn. I'm going to get me a horn. I can slam the horn down because that's, you know how they have in the club. Each believer acts in his or her own interest, inspired by God on how to spread Christ, but not on your company time, unless you're giving the authority to do so. Because until you sign your own check, you answer to or accountable to somebody. However, Ivy's tactics of responding negatively to others on Instagram and calling out a few players for their faith may not have been the most appropriate. This is one of the most, though this is written by the Echo, Taylor University, is one of the most balanced articles. It was only 3 paragraphs of the whole page. There's consequences, I like this, to your freedom. Now, here's my question. I got a question. So this dude making 10 mil, where he got a signing bonus, not sure all of that. I ain't look all of that up. Sure he had money saved. So even getting waived, because they still have to honor his contract, he won't be cool. Here's the test. Would dude still spoke up if he were making minimum wage, living from paycheck to paycheck, knowing if he got fired, he wouldn't have any money coming in? You still got strong faith? You still want to preach Christ? I'm just asking, probably, maybe so. But when you got a cushion, it's different than when you live from pay. So I'm wondering, when we talk about somebody's commitment, would you have done that if you did not know how you would live in the natural after you got fired from forcing your faith down somebody's throat? Things that make you go, There are consequences to your freedom, Bob Oler, sports columnist for the Columbus Dispatch. Regardless, in the sports world, many aren't willing to do what Ivy did. Absolutely. And it's not because they are ashamed, because this article is because they understand render unto Caesar what it Caesar's. A lot of athletes are spiritual. A lot of them have spiritual, if they don't go to church, spiritual counselors, spiritual mentors. But just because they don't shout it all over the arena doesn't mean they're non-believers. Fanaticism doesn't make your faith any stronger than anybody else's, in my opinion. It's about walking the walk, not just talking the talk. And that's a cliche I don't like, but here it fits. Like this, like the show. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Jaden Daniels is a believer, but you don't hear Jaden Daniels is, I think he made $5 million. He on there to make his money and take a team to the championship. I'm sure if you have a sit down with him, he talks. I've heard him talk about God and faith. He's no less than a believer than Jaden Ivey. He just knows why he's on the Commanders. And when he gets a chance to share his faith, I heard he goes to the Bible study. They have all that kind of stuff. But that's not what wings are going to tell you, because it makes us look like what's for his belief. Regardless, in the sports world, many aren't willing to do what Jaden Ivey did, as he put his reputation on the line and not potentially ended his career. So far, nobody's picked him up. He's a liability. I'm trying to tell you, the NBA is a business. They have sponsors. They have advertisers. They're there to make money. And when you become a liability to any company, not just the NBA, and start costing them more than you profit them, you're done. He put his reputation on the line and potentially ended his professional basketball career for the gospel. You want if that's where you rest, you can rest there. I won't touch that. Regardless on if one half-heartedly or wholeheartedly agrees with how he handles the situation, he has become another victim of our left-leaning leagues who silence those who break the mold. I totally disagree. See, this is the problem that I have. This is the problem that I have. This is why I'm doing this series. That statement, like right there. Go back. I had to hit rewind. Let me go back. Regardless on if one half-heartedly or wholeheartedly disagree with how he handled the situation, he has become another victim of our left-leaning leagues who silence those who break the mold. What mold did you break? What mold? You're not the first one to profess their Christianity publicly. You're not the first one to be let. Kyrie Irving, I told you, different scenario, but pretty much back in, remember, 2022, he promoted this book online, and then it began. I believe that kind of squashed his career. But the difference with him, I have to say, he didn't go out playing the victim. He knew what he did. And because of the nature of what he did, which was surrounded by a lot of African American and Hebrew facts and truth he had revealed coming out, he didn't get nowhere near the support from the league or from the culture as Jaden Ivey. Don't forget that. So I vehemently disagree with he's a victim. Yeah, a victim of lack of wisdom. That he that lacks wisdom asks of God, and he gives liberally and upbraideth not. Wisdom means there's a time and a place, everything. And there's a time to say and not to say. Speak and see, that's the elements of wisdom. Y'all want me to continue down this road? For those really swift to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. Not outbursts of tyrants on social media. And I think it's just wrapped up in being a novice. Needs some good mentorship, some good coaching, somebody who's not blinded by his money and will tell him the truth. And I think he can be savvy. I think his basketball, I mean, a lesser team may pick him up. But unfortunately, I think, and I may be wrong, and if I am, I'll come back, that he's seen his better days with basketball. Because I think it's going to be hard, because here's when people, can I share this? Because this is kind of off the cuff, but this, some prophetic wisdom. Your options will always be limited when people just never know what's going to come out of your mouth and when it's going to. That's a liability. And that's kind of him. You just never know this tirade he's going to go on. And nobody wants to take that chance. So he will probably, in my prediction, end up, hopefully after he gets some counseling and some help, on some kind of ministry work, saying that God pulled him out of the league, which you didn't even get a good career start in the league for it to be in it. But anyway, because God wanted him to do ministry. And I pray, I do, I see the potential there. But, when you've been given a platform, like so many of us have been given, you have to come in integrity, no matter who it is, what it is, and in honesty. And that's why on my Patreon, I've even talked about my history of mistakes and what I have learned and what I should not have done. Because the honesty starts with us. And to see that the brother don't need help, that he's struggling with something, some kind of abuse, that he is a zealot, overly religious, and there's a lot of guilt there, you're just blind. And there's a lot of deflection. And I think he can be sad, but it's going to take someone telling him, sitting him, loving him enough to ignore the money, ignore the statue, ignore his position in the NBA, ignore all of that, to love him enough, bring him close, and help walk him through without being in front of a camera, without getting publicity, gaining his trust and his confidence, which a lot of it, I'm sure, has been broken through his wife leaving him and whatever abuse in the league. So he has a lot of trust issues, taking the time to work through the trust, being reliable, being dependable, but most importantly, being honest, enforcing him as much as possible. And then I believe he can be healed, restored, and fulfilled. Broken people. Broken people can't heal people. That's a lot of what we're seeing now. A lot of broken people trying to birth healing. Physicians, we have to heal ourselves first. And once we are on the road towards healing, we have the oil and the wine that help to heal us. We can now pour into others. So let the healing begin. That's how I end this series with that young man. Let the healing begin. All right, y'all. That's it. I know it got a little heavy, but I got to do it every now and then. Like, share, subscribe, follow. Don't forget, the Voice of Hope connection, where we will meet you and greet you each and every Sunday with encouragement, inspirational, positive energy right here. All of it's going down on Wake Up Global TV. Wake up, subscribe so you know when brand new content drop. Wake Up Global TV, and every Thursday night right here on Wake Up Global TV, it is the Life Alive Bible. So don't let the word Bible study fool you, because we go deep. It's more of prophetic direction that realigns us and reassigns us to our original source purpose of why we're here. Wake Up Global TV, then a Voice of Hope, then the Voiceover Now. Great, no chaser. We're talking about it. We're talking about it right on this platform. That's why I'm talking about it. Y'all got to stop traveling to foreign countries with people you don't know. Every every country has a different culture and practice. And if you go, you better know. All I'm going to say with that, if you know what I'm talking about, you know. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe tune in. Maybe I'll make it, they say, I'll church it. I'll make it plain. Until next, this defaults to 3, saying, remember, you got a voice. Peace.